Dr. Quack also had specific rumors surrounding his clinic, with one stating that if a player clicked the eyesight testing poster too many times, he would become upset and kill their pets.
Welcome to Sleepover Cinema, where we analyze the movies, shows, music, and games that created the collective unconscious of those who would patrol the pound all day and all night long to cop a ka-cheek. I'm Hannah Leach.
And I'm Audrey Leach, a girl who just simply never had as many collectible stuffed animals as her friends.
Today we are going to explore the good, the bad, and the nonsensical aspects of two immersive, addictive, and ideologically opposed online games.
So what was it that had our childhood brains in a cycle of addiction with the great omelet? Let's discover together as Neopets and Webkinz go head to head.
Do you remember the Great Omelet?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, hello everybody. Today's a big one, I think. There's a lot of information to cover here.
We didn't really conceptualize this episode as a versus like when we decided to do it, but now it just makes sense. So we're gonna get to probably fight. So that should be entertaining.
You think we'll fight?
I mean, not actually,
Maybe,
but like
maybe.
It's hard when like we have, I feel that the 2-year gap between us defines who cares about which more. I mean, you definitely care about Neopets more, and I definitely care about Webkinz more. So
care about is an interesting way to put it. Like,
you care because you played it more. Like,
I just have more of like a more nuanced feelings towards Neopets, I suppose.
Right. Yes, and I have more nuanced feelings towards Webkinz.
Well, if we were agreeing, it would be boring. So
yeah.
I'm ready to remember things about Webkinz based off of what you say, because I don't remember that much. But before we do that, I wanted to say 2 things, even before we do the diary thing. The first one is, this is on a personal note, but I did receive at least one DM about this. I could not take the heat of not being on Lexapro, so I'm on it again. And if you have any... I tried to fight the war. It didn't work, but you know what? I learned a lot. And then the second thing is, to those who are aware of Josh as an extended member of the Sleepover Cinema universe, especially because we are talking about these games today, I just wanted to say that if you're a RuneScape fan, Josh has like fully popped off on his YouTube channel and is like a full-time RuneScape YouTuber now, which is wild. He has representation from a talent management agency, and so now we are a entirely funded by media creation household.
You don't plan for it. It happens to you.
Till it happens to you. Like, actually. If you like RuneScape, his channel is Josh Isn't Gaming, and he does a really good job. Not that he needs promo from us, because he doesn't, obviously, but I think it's interesting. So.
No, he should be promoting us.
I
What's
know.
he doing?
Okay. Anyway, all right. So, Dear Diary. This entry is from our listener, Emma, and I cannot believe how on topic this is.
Please enter your password.
Cupcake.
This is what she says. It's December 13th, 2005. Today, I don't really have anything to talk about today. I wish I did. Then I would actually have some subject to write about. Maybe I should talk about Neopets. Well, I do have 2 Neopets. One is a monkey and a ka-cheek. My ka-cheek is really rare because it's a starry one. Anything that is starry, is rare. And a ka-cheek is really cute. And about my monkey, it's too cloudy one. It's a cloudy one.
It's a
cloudy one. Cloudies aren't really rare, but I'm just glad I've got him. That's it.
That's so me journaling.
Know.
Me journaling as a child was like, I'm thinking about writing a sentence. Now I'm going to write a sentence.
I appreciate that Emma shared her Neopets teas with us today because, especially if you can see this handwriting, it's got the like kind of forced A with like the hooky
Yup.
thing over it.
We
It
all
looks
did
like
that.
a 2. Yeah, but she
I
doesn't
did.
have like the girl handwriting. The girl handwriting, I like want to know the science behind. Like, how does it exist?
My handwriting in middle school was absolutely out of control. I had like a mixed lowercase and uppercase go-to alphabet. Like my D's were all uppercase and my Y's I would change all the time. My T's I would change all the time. My A's I would change. Because with a T you can do like the swerve at the bottom.
Yeah.
And then Y's, it could be like a hook or it could be like a loop or it could
Yes.
be straight down even. Like I would do that.
Yeah, that's scary. Sometimes I'll do the hook on the T and the swirly on the Y, just depending on how spicy I feel that day.
Yeah. I've seen the sentiment of like, I just realized I don't know what any of my friends' handwriting looks like. Like if you make a bunch of adult friends just in the world, like, and we text, you never see their handwriting, which is sad. Like if you think to your like childhood friends, you probably kind of know what their handwriting looks like.
Definitely. Okay. All of this being said, shall we get into it?
Yes.
Okay, so first half of the episode is going to contain our discussion on Neopets. Second half, we'll have Webkinz, and then at the end of the second half, we are going to hold our spirited debate about which game is better, more impactful, etc. But let's give Neopets her time.
First, there was Earth.
Boring!
Then came Neopets, an endless world of games and adventure. Create your very own Neopet and explore the many lands of Neopia. Play hundreds of games, like the all-new Shenku River Rush.
And score Neopoints!
Shop for items to customize your Neopet, or just to collect. Join today and receive 1,000 Neopoints for free. Discover your world. Neopets.com.
Greatest place not on Earth!
Neopets is a free-to-play virtual pet website where you make Neopets and explore Neopia. The website features games, shops, guilds, pet pages, personal pages, a stock market, and much, much more. The game was conceived in 1997 by British college student Adam Powell, and it launched on November 15th, 1999, with Adam responsible for programming and database management, and Donna Williams doing art and web design, plus a few friends helping run the ship. The game was inspired by Pokemon, Tamagotchi, etc., and all of the games operated in Flash players, so like Adobe Flash players, which you may recall. But the interesting thing is that everything else was just like normal pages. There was no like immersive world to walk around in per se.
Much to my dismay.
So just a few tweets about Neopets. I'm just going to say, first one, when I looked up Neopets, the amount of furry illustrations it was out of control. I had to like dig through the stacks to find tweets about like Neopets from like a civilian perspective.
Yeah.
So
you gotta like, instead of looking up Neopets, look up like specific things in Neopets.
I know. Like Hannah and the Pirate Caves, or like the games specifically. Yeah, that's a good idea. I was rushing kind of. Anyway, so once you get past the furry illustrations, we got, I love French onion soup because it makes me feel like I'm eating something from Neopets, because French onion soup was very popular on there. Another tweet.
A confession I have is that I'm back on a Neopets game leaderboard, number 73. I forgot about that. I forgot there was like leaderboards. Never forget where you came from. The Neopets RP forums.
And they were too real, seriously. So now, just to get some more history on Neopets, I heavily pulled from this article written by Jake Rawson for Mental Floss. It's called A Brief History of Neopets. Okay, so we already touched on this a little bit, but the game was founded by Adam Powell, launched in 1999. And again, like as we know, there may not have been like an immersive world to walk around in, but the creators of the game built an infrastructure around the pets that made everything feel more real. And of course, the users of the game, like you and me, were called Neopians. So you would get a house for yourself. You would live in one of many different areas, like, for example, Mystery Island and Terror Mountain. Very dramatic. Neopets even had its own newspaper called the Neopian Times. Of course, playing games could get you points, and with points you could do basically anything in the game. So it was like currency pretty much. But on top of playing the games to get money, you could also join guilds, which is what Neopets called subgroups for fans of different television shows, movies, books, and music. There were some guilds that were like very roleplay heavy, but most of them were just like, I love Evanescence, join my guild, which we will get back to. As we all know, the game picked up steam really quick in like 2005 and onwards, and it was so successful that this man called Doug Doering, who was the founder of the Doering Company, he and his partners bought Neopets, which a lot of the time would like oust the people that founded it, but actually it ended up freeing up Adam and Donna to focus on the creative side while Doug was focusing on the business model. But an interesting side note is that Doug was a Scientologist and wanted to turn the game into like somewhat of a Scientology platform, which is just really weird, and that's like a whole side story, but just an interesting fact. So then in 2005, Viacom, which owned CBS and Nickelodeon, purchased Neopets from Adam, Donna, and Doug for $160 million. And as ownership was changing and things were shifting around, the thing that kept the website and like the game itself the most stable was actually it was the user base, who were very passionate and very enterprising. And in order to really contribute to Neopia as a whole, you had to have some skills beyond just figuring out how to access the internet, including, I mean, we'll get into it, but like HTML, coding, it all comes up. So things were good in this era. By 2011, Neopets had 1 trillion cumulative page views, but was declining in player base overall because like Facebook was a thing and there were more social media outlets to kind of like distract the audience. So then it was sold to Jumpstart Education in 2014. Then Jumpstart Education was acquired by NetDragon in 2017. And things have come to pass since then, but we will talk about that when we talk about the state of Neopets today. So as many of you probably remember, each Neopet that you would get a pet page, and it came with like a basic layout, but if you could teach yourself basic HTML, you could customize your page. And of course, like everybody wanted a super customized page for their pet, but of course not everyone was going to learn how to write HTML. So some people would offer up their services in exchange for Neopoints to code people's home pages. I know for a fact that Erin would do that, our cousin Erin. I know she coded one for me at one point, and it's just so funny that that is something that kids were learning. Also, I never fucked with this, but Neopets had the NeoDAC, which is a takeoff of the NASDAQ stock market. People were investing Neopoints in virtual stocks. It was crazy, the depth of this thing.
A player of the game told The Ringer, as a 5th grader, I had set up extensive spreadsheets in Excel to track NeoDAC stock market prices daily so that I could pick up on stock patterns and buy low, sell high. I ended up becoming a Neo millionaire fairly quickly this way, and my friends saw me as some sort of Neopoint baron.
But essentially how it worked was the more items a virtual store sold, the better its stock price would get. So some young adults were trading stock tips in like guilds and forums where like younger kids are like fully role playing their favorite characters in a forest or wherever.
What's weird with this discussion is like I can't really visualize the chat, if you will. Like, these are message boards, so it's kind of,
They
is it
were
more like
message
Reddit
boards.
threads?
Yeah.
It's like a Reddit thread type format within a
Yes.
guild.
There were boards, which were basically like Reddit. And then the guilds were like landing page someone would have like tricked the hell out of with all sorts of HTML. And then I think there was a board contained within the guild page. There were like different categories you could talk about. The super, super, super predecessor to Discord were the Neo boards. Neopets was not without its controversies, of course. So one of the main elements that caused controversy is that Neopets helped create and pioneer something called immersive advertising, which they later trademarked. For example, in like the main town square of Neopets, there was a McDonald's. You could get Crest toothpaste in some of the stores. You could get a Capri Sun. You could get Legos. You might encounter the Trix Rabbit while you're walking around. And because the game was free to play, it was a good way to support the game. But a lot of parents especially were like, is nothing pure? Why is my child being advertised to? Which even right, everything is an advertisement. But even better, some parents were displeased to learn that in the like Neopets arcade, you could play roulette or blackjack and gamble your money. So those games ended up being age restricted for ages 13 and older, because everyone knows when you turn 13, you can no longer have a gambling addiction. Of course, players were good at snatching things, rigging things, kind of like getting rare items easily because they learned how to write code, so they could kind of like hack it almost. There were phishing scams targeting kids, enticing them to fill out their login information so others could swipe their Neo points. That is what happened.
I remember that one.
That is what happened to Aaron. And you know what? There's a lot of lore around that. I was accused of doing it. That shit had me so fucked up.
Did you ask her
I
that?
never would do that. No one has ever apologized.
Well,
Like, no one has ever fessed up to any of it.
but it wasn't anybody we know. Like, it would just be somebody on the internet.
No, because then my account got hacked into and fucked with, and I know it was Paul.
Maybe that's what we should be doing on this episode.
Trying to solve the mystery.
Yeah, we need to get Uncle Paul
Oh,
on here.
sheesh. That's actually a really good idea. So, okay, the quick version of this, just so we have it recorded in case we need it, is that Erin was absolutely a Neo Points Baron. And it was like her passion. She was so into Neopets. And then one day, I think she got locked out of her account. All of her money was gone. Her store was like destroyed. It was really, really bad. And I was framed as being the one who hacked into her account and did all that, which I took deep offense to, because why the fuck would I do that? Why would my own family think I was capable of doing that?
Don't remember it being like that.
You weren't involved in this.
No. I remember it, but I don't remember thinking everybody thought it was real.
Oh no, me, Aaron, and Paul, it was serious. Like, it was not a joke.
We have to have a conversation.
I know. We'll have a 4-person, you, me, Aaron, Paul, where we
I'm the
get
mediator.
to the bottom. Yeah, you're the mediator. That's what we need. Even though there was hacking, overall, Neopets provided something pretty rare, which was a mostly safe, positive experience for kids online in the early internet, which is rare. Current state of the game. I'm on a journey to log into my account right now. I sent them a message being like, help me recover this. Here's my mom's email. She's the one who set it up. Like, I had to text mom and be like, do you still use your Roadrunner email?
I don't think she does.
She says that she has access to it, but she doesn't use it.
Yeah.
So,
That's funny you say that, because I'm on a journey to logging into Webkinz. It won't let me in. I remember my credentials, but it won't let me in. It's weird.
Oh, it's because in 2019, they deleted all of the accounts that hadn't been active in 7 years prior.
Well, bitch, I had logged on in the past 7 years.
Really?
I haven't gone down the path of forgot.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I'm on my journey to log in. But when I went to the home page, I was greeted by a lot of new information. So this pop-up comes up and it says, "We warmly welcome all Neopians to the brand new Neopets homepage. From news and updates to the latest events and announcements, this site is the gateway to all things Neopets. To access any of our games, including neopets.com, check out the handy navigation bar at the top of the page." Neopets is trying to reboot itself, is the impression I'm getting. And they're starting this new game called World of Neopets, which is so funny because it's very World of Warcraft coded. But this is what they say about it. World of Neopets is a social life simulation game in which you can live your ideal Neopian life from the perspective of a Neopet. Decorate your Neo home, explore iconic Neopian lands
different.
in 3D. I know, it's kind of Animal Crossing-ish. Discover secret treasures and knowledge, or play mini-games while you party with your Neo friends, all while you interact in quest with a collection of your favorite Neopian characters. World of Neopets is still in its world-building phase, da-da-da. It's like, we'll let you know when beta is up. And then there's like a shitty mobile game called Neopets Fairies Hope. You make your own fairy island. And then it's also kind of Candy Crush-ish. I put a link to the trailer in here. And so it seems like they are on the path to nostalgia capitalization, much like any other media entity.
We've moved past this form of game, especially for kids. Like, kids really couldn't give less of a fuck, I feel like. But, you know, if a parent who played it as a child was like, oh, this could be fun for my child, then maybe. I heard something really interesting recently that was like, it was a teacher talking about how their students don't really know how to use computers because they are so used to touchscreens. Like, as a child, they only ever had like an iPad or a phone in their hand. So like, they don't know computer etiquette.
I mean, how old are these kids?
I think she was talking like 5th, 6th, 7th grade. Like, when you start to like get to the point where you need to know how a computer
I don't
works.
know. I don't know if I believe that. That seems...
I believe it. We were allowed to be on the computer, and sort of had like a kid's computer for like our whole lives leading up to actually being in a class that had a computer.
Yeah.
So like, we did learn that we didn't have all the touch screen stuff from ages 0 to 10 or whatever.
Our Neopets memories. Where do we begin? What do you have?
For me, it's really almost entirely comprised of watching. I watched you or Aaron play it a lot, especially the games like Hannah and the Cave or whatever. I did have my own account, and I know for a fact that I had that penguin one, the Bruce, right? With the cute little penguin with the bow tie. And I know for a fact that I would print out coloring pages of Bruce. But other than that, like, I did not engage with Neopets in the way that it was best used. Because I like didn't understand it. Because it is a little bit hard. Kind of like when I first got Tumblr, I was like, what is this? Like, my brain didn't understand the format, and with Neopets, I just never caught on. But with Tumblr, I figured it out, obviously. So yeah, it was just like watching, and like I remember thinking the games were hard, and like there were like actual stakes to them, whereas Webkinz would like throw you a bone.
Neopets kind of had like a menacing thing to it.
Yeah.
In
like
that there were
scary.
It was kind of scary in the way that like everything was like a page that needed to load, and like you never knew like what was gonna come up.
Yeah.
And sometimes
Felt a little unsafe in some way. I think it did to me. I definitely perceived it that way.
Yeah, I don't think it was unsafe. I think that it was early internet. Anything on early internet.
Well, that's what I'm
just feels
saying.
scary.
Do you remember?
Well, like the vibe is scary. Nothing bad ever happened to me on Neopets.
I hope that you put in conspiracy theories for Webkinz.
Well, we will talk more about that in
Yeah.
the second half because I have some stuff pulled for it. I mean, my memories of Neopets were me and Aaron played it together. Obviously, my pen name / alternative name for everything, which is Gothica, came from Neopets because I made my account Gothica Avril Raven. Have I ever talked about how I know where each component of that came from?
Well, I mean, isn't that obvious?
I mean, Avril and
It's
Raven,
pretty
yes.
obvious.
But Raven is Raven from Teen Titans.
Yeah.
Not That So Raven.
Oh, I know.
And then this other thing is, if anyone has seen this, please let me know because I can't find it. There was an episode of Danny Phantom where a like spooky circus comes to town, and it's called Carnival Gothica, and that's where I got Gothica from, was Danny Phantom. I joined an Avril Lavigne guild. That was fantastic. And I remember talking to like truly random people online, like on boards and stuff, and it just felt so freeing because we had a very tight leash in terms of
good thing. It's a good thing.
In terms of interacting with people, and there were a lot of built-in filters and stuff with Neopets where you couldn't, like, apparently if you tried to use the word sexy on Neopets, it auto-corrected to stupid.
That's where all the fake words came in, like
Yes.
sexy.
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
and
not as bad as
Aaron became Aaron.
Well, that was for VMK.
I know.
That was not, which that's another thing
Yeah, because
altogether.
Disney, they don't want you even revealing your true identity. It was like, you need to shield everything.
My first Neopet was a P.O. half horse, half fish. It's like a mermaid horse. And I think that Neopet is fierce to this day. Okay, so now we're going to take our little break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about Webkinz. Okay, everybody, welcome back. And it is time to sprint to your nearest Hallmark store and pick up a beloved one and only Webkinz for this discussion.
What's the coolest thing about Webkinz? So many pets to choose from. Contest! Decorating my pet's room. The secret code that unlocks Webkinz World. Toys! Food! Prizes! Shopping for clothes. Giving my pet a bubble bath. Games! Meeting friends at the clubhouse. New stuff! The time! The coolest thing is everything!
The coolest thing is everything Webkinz.
Get a parent's permission before going online. Each sold separately.
Webkinz is a stuffed animal and video game franchise. Webkinz World, now referred to as Webkinz Classic, is the virtual world where plush Webkinz pets come to life. Players can interact with the pets they adopt by playing games, decorating their house, dressing them up with clothes, and more. Webkinz World was launched on April 29th, 2005. How you would gain access to Webkinz is that you would get a Webkin. You would get your hands on a Webkin one way or another, and you would enter the secret code found on the blue tag that comes with every Webkinz pet in the adoption center, which would allow you to play with your Webkin online. In 2006, Webkinz achieved 1 million players. During this same year, according to one estimate published in Wired, Webkinz generated approximately $100 million in revenue. And kids were just into it because you could like cuddle with your little pet and then also be playing with them.
I can only imagine that there was a lot of criminality going on when it comes to this tag on the pet. I mean, I remember it got so serious to the point where the stores are putting Webkinz behind locked glass. Because the thievery was like high, I would imagine. Like, even if you don't take the stuffed animal, you could just cut the tag. There must be people who are good at guessing them, right? Like, because really, you could just go on and guess codes. There's got to be a lot of really good crime stories relevant to Webkinz.
Oh my god, that's our next project is going to be like a criminal movie, a crime movie about Webkinz.
I mean, I've heard stories of like parents doing crazy things to get their child a certain one that they really wanted. Like, I feel like it became a game for both the child and the adult in extreme cases.
Yes. It was very like collector's item-y, like the rares and everything.
It became that way.
We're gonna return to this subject near the end. But Audrey, would you read us these tweets?
Who needs TikTok clout when I get all the validation I could ever need from Webkinz fan communities? Can't sleep, just got my best score ever on Cash Cow on Webkinz because I logged onto my account for the first time in years. Truthfully, I would give anything to play Webkinz again. Like, I would single-handedly take out a multi-million-dollar investment loan to get it back up and running. Well, maybe... I don't know when they tweeted this, but like, you can play it.
I know that guy was a clown.
And finally named my favorite Webkinz Elbow, and I'll remember him forever, my king. There are a lot. I have seen a lot of funny TikToks where people were showing the animal they had and what they named them, and it's just like, it'll be like rug or like mud or something. It's funny.
Yeah. So for some history on Webkinz, we're going to heavily rely on this interview with Carl Borst, who was he still is the creative director of Webkinz. So this man really gives it all to us. In addition to being the creative director of Webkinz, he also created the Curio Shop, Art, the guy who works in there, and he's the voice of that character. So this man has really done a lot. So Carl says the plush toy came first in 2003 before the game. Howard Gans, the owner of the company, loved the plush product and wanted to do something new to get the message out. The company did not feel that television advertising was a wise investment and decided to invest that budget in an online site instead. Carl was like, okay, like, what's the budget for this online world? And Mr. Gans was like, don't worry about the budget, like just make us something good. So I mean, that's a dream for anyone in Carl's position. But then I was like, how the fuck did Howard Gans get so rich? And this is the description of how he got wealthy on the family website, and I thought it was funny.
As the story begins, shortly after World War II, Samuel Gans made his way to New York City while his sons Sam and Jack settled in Toronto. On one of his visits to see them, Samuel brought along a doll he had seen produced in New York. After making a few contacts and holding discussions, Gans Toys was in business.
The sentence, after making a few contacts and holding discussions, I just loved how... I wish that's how I became like a multimillionaire. We gotta hold discussions. That's the most important part. So as we know, Webkinz was really blowing up from 2007 to 2008. And this is what Carl had to say. We had upwards of 400 people working on multiple projects, including the numerous contractors that we pulled in at times, a huge customer service team, and over 30 translators. I can honestly say that was a challenging time. We grew too fast and work suffered. The team is now smaller, and they still foster new pet adoptions every day. He says, our team is much smaller now.
We still
but
foster
from at least...
new pet adoptions every day.
That was what was
That's
in the
very
article.
Disney of them.
I know it's very spending time with Cinderella or whatever. And then he says, our team is much smaller now, but at least from the art and creative side that I manage, it's the most talented and cohesive team we've ever had. Okay, Audrey, it is your turn.
Yeah, so we mentioned earlier the Webkinz killer. I remember hearing about this like on the playground. This, without social media, this conspiracy theory made its way to the children in real life. So the Webkinz killer was a rumor that emerged in early 2007 about a character that would supposedly murder a player's Webkinz. It spread wildly around the site, with players going so far as to say that it would infect others with destructive malware. Yes, I remember that. Gans addressed this rumor in August 2008, stating that nothing in Webkinz world would ever hurt your Webkinz pets. The Webkinz killer is not a true threat to pets, and Webkinz cannot not die. It was rumored that the Webkinz killer was added to the game by a developer at a competing website or a disgruntled ex-employee at Gans. There were a variety of methods of assassination that were spread, with some saying that the killer was a virus that appeared as a black penguin with red eyes. This virus would wipe the player's hard drive and BIOS on Windows 9X systems, rendering the computer unusable. Another rumor was that a colored box, commonly black, would randomly appear in a player's room. Players would be instructed by others to leave as quickly as possible. If the box was clicked on, something would pop out and decapitate their pet. It was also stated that a Webkinz host could send players letters containing bombs or other explosive devices. If these letters were opened, the player's house would be destroyed and their Webkinz would be killed. The black letter was a primary source for said malware. Frequently, now this is the one I really remember. Frequently, the Webkinz killer is identified as Dr. Quack or as other Webkinz pets. Some users also blame the killing on Neopets, a popular competing site. Dr. Quack also had specific rumors surrounding his clinic, with one stating that if a player clicked the eyesight testing poster too many times, at least 50 times, he would become upset and kill their pets. It was also rumored that he could give pets poisonous pills, which would kill them. I think one of the big reasons why kids would believe this sort of thing is because there were YouTube videos where people had created this scenario. So like,
really?
Yeah, like this imagery does exist. So it's like you would see.
I've seen the images.
Yeah. Like you would see the imagery and you'd be like, as a kid, you couldn't really necessarily yet understand that people outside of the game could create convincing imagery from within the game. So I didn't get that at the time. So like if I saw it, I would be like, oh, there must be some credibility to this.
In this interview, the interviewer asked Carl Borst, the creative director, what his thoughts were on the infamous rumors and copypastas, including the Webkinz killer. Were they funny or annoying? He said, really, really annoying. I mean, I should have seen it coming. As kids age up into their tween/early teen years, scary and gross humor becomes more popular. But we had worked so hard to keep the game kid-friendly and non-violent that hearing about kids honestly being scared that a virtual killer would kill their pets ticked me off. Writing those articles acknowledging the rumor wasn't something I wanted to do, but I had to.
Honestly, if he was a different type of person, he would have just had it happen to one person.
Just to keep it
and
going.
Then never again. And then like come out and address it and be like, it's not real. And then gaslight the children.
Just gaslight the shit out of the children. That's what we needed Carl Borst to do with his pure creative control. I do remember that also. And I was freaked out by it, even though I was older. So, fast forward to now, the current state of Webkinz. In October 2020, Gans unveiled Webkinz Next, which is a 3D spin-off of original Webkinz with different social features. So, when it comes to Webkinz Classic, which is what we played, they describe it as this on the website for parents. A safe, fun, and magical online world where your child can adopt a pet and see it come to life, with stimulating and educational games to play, exciting activities to enjoy, and amazing places to discover. And then this is the description of Webkinz Next. It is a really scary, really horrible 3D version of the original, in my opinion. Webkinz Next is a brand new free-to-play mobile and desktop experience that launched in December 2020 out of fear that Flash would no longer support the original build of Webkinz, which is valid because Flash died. And so a bunch of the games on Neopets.com on top of Webkinz like wouldn't run for me because of Flash being an issue. But I'm like, how is this still where we're at? So I'm sure there's a way to play all these games, but you got to get around it. But with Webkinz, they made it a desktop app, so that's how they dealt with it. These were just a couple other things that Carl said that involved Neopets or this style of game in general that I thought would be worth adding to our discussion. Carl had this to say about Neopets. I played a ton of Neopets before I arrived at Webkinz. I didn't just analyze it for work, I got seriously into it. But I didn't think I need to copy this. I thought I got excited about these aspects, but didn't like these other aspects. How do I improve on this? Another point about Neopets was that I knew it took them 3 years to become established. It showed that staying committed to your brand could pay off. The fact that Webkinz only took 2 years to really catch fire was a nice surprise for me. Club Penguin came after us. They actually pitched Penguin Chat, as it was called at the time, for us for our Kinz chat system. We didn't go with it, obviously. I always respected Club Penguin, and it really taught me 2 things. 1, the importance of having chat features throughout your game, not just in specific sections, and 2, that the subscription model worked. Players often told us that they came to Webkinz to play games and went to Club Penguin to chat and socialize.
Well, listen, Club Penguin had the club. Like, it's true. Webkinz,
I know.
for me, like, Webkinz was about having the best home. Memories wise, I remember that my first Webkinz ever was a Chihuahua, and he was ugly. Like, he was ugly. And you know, there was nothing worse than when you would get a Webkinz and it'd be like cute as a stuffed animal, and then you put that code in the website and then you see it virtually and it's the ugliest thing. That happened kind of a lot. I had a tiger and I remember thinking that about the tiger. I thought it was ugly virtually. My second Webkinz was you know how they came out with the mini ones? I had a light blue hippo that was mini.
Yeah, I remember.
And I named it Sky.
I remember that, yes.
And she was so cute virtually because she was like small and so like fluffy looking. You know how you could switch which pet you were when you're walking around in your house and in general, because when you played games, technically you were like being one of your pets. Is that what it is? Is it you're being your pet, or is it I'm currently taking care of this pet? I guess that's what it is.
You're currently taking care of the pet. There's no like POV.
No, but like
I am this pet.
It is a little. It does.
You can tell it where to go.
That's why it kind of feels like you're being the pet. It's like I'm being my pet in the house right now. If it was I'm supposed to be the owner of the pet, shouldn't there be like a little person in the home too? But there isn't.
Well, no, because you're the person.
Right, but like the POV isn't right. Like if you're the person.
Well, it's like Nintendogs.
But Nintendogs, like
you know
actually,
I mean?
There's human elements to, like the implication of people is there in Nintendogs. And it's like, we're going for a walk. Like we're not going for a walk in Webkinz. It's a very.
No, because they're not like actual animals. They're like.
I mean, it's an interesting premise. Like, it's like a little bit off. If the original idea is not even that they would have an online world, they basically were just trying to sell stuffed animals. And then they were like, let's create a website instead of doing an ad campaign. Like, so the initial idea, it wasn't internet first, then the product. It was product first.
Right.
I don't know. I never really thought about that. Like, are you the pet or are you taking care of the pet? Because never do they talk up to you like you're a person. Like, if you go to the Curio Shop, it's not like...
Oh, right. It's a dog in an outfit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess you are the pet.
Yeah, I always kind of felt like you are being the pet, and the fact that you can switch which of your pets you're using, you're being. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone felt
the
like
the role you are playing.
If you're listening to this and you felt like you were a human taking care of the pets, that is interesting. I feel like that's a bit of a stretch, but you do have to feed them, but they can't die. Whereas
they had crystallized
Neopets, they can die, can't they? Remember how sad looking they would get?
No, it would say like starving, but they wouldn't die.
Remember how traumatizing those images were?
Yeah, because you had to take care of your freaking Neopet.
Well, on Webkinz, their health might be low. They might be hella hungry, but they look fine. They don't look like they're about to
chipper.
keel over.
Yeah. Well, Neopets was the more hardcore of the two, which we knew already. If I am to try to recall which Webkinz I had. Now, it's important to keep in mind that I was on the older end of this situation. Audrey had a bunch, and Aaron and Julia,
They had a ton.
holy shit. Yeah, their grandma, not the grandma we share, but one of their other grandmas, like showered them in Webkinz. Like, I feel like they each had like 40 Webkinz, like at least. The two I remember the most, I had that husky named Luna, classic husky name. And then I still have a black bear named Honey that I sleep with every night. But I remember the black bear was like rare. And so I felt very fancy for having that one.
I don't know that it was actually rare though, or if people just didn't pick it. We'd have to look it up.
Are you doubting my clout?
Kind of, because I just feel like we wouldn't get a rare one.
I just looked it up if it's rare, and the first description on this eBay listing is, this stuffed toy is made with velvet-like plush fabric that matches the soft behavior of this kind beast. Soft behavior of this kind beast.
It's not really what black bears are known for.
Wait, let me see what else this guy says. Bears are supposed to be ferocious creatures, but the Webkinz black bear will melt your heart with its gentle demeanor. Calm, cuddly, and cute, the Webkinz black bear is one stuffed toy that will always stand by your side. That's true. What Webkinz would be considered the most rare / sought after? I'd say, this is Reddit, I'd say either the original Cheeky Dog or Cheeky Cat, since they were the first to be retired back then. We got Love Puppy. Who could forget about the Love Puppy? That makes me think of Joe from Good Children. Love Puppy, Golden Pegasus, Signature Calico, Egyptian Mao Kitten, Moonlight Pets, Daylight Dragon, Dire Wolf Pups, etc. I'm not seeing Black Bear, so I guess I'm fake.
She ain't rare. Okay, what, do you remember any other ones? I feel like you only had maybe like 4 or 5.
I think I had 5.
What I can remember is Chihuahua, Hippo, Tiger, Reindeer, Papa Sass, the pink leopard dragon.
I forgot about Papa Sass. That was genius. I can't believe you did that. Papa Sass. Wow.
I wish I could remember the name. Why am I even blanking on the name of the Chihuahua right now? Was it Pinky? I don't know.
Pinky? I would believe it.
Yeah.
I would believe it.
Or was it
Pinky.
like, I feel like a lot of kids would just be like, oh, it's like the Taco Bell Chihuahua, and they would name it Taco. I gotta get into my account.
This is one thing that's weird to me now that I'm an adult, is like looking back on how much Webkinz cost. They're like $20 a piece, maybe a little more. I'm sure now they would be like
they'd be like
35. Yeah, but like, I mean, I guess with inflation, I don't know. I'm kind of like, how do parents resist
the small
if they
things.
can afford it?
Yeah,
like if they can afford it, how do they resist like not going nuts?
well, a lot of them didn't. I mean, there was some crazy
True.
stuff going on with parents buying the Webkinz and grandparents buying
That's
Webkinz.
true.
But yeah, I mean, there was definitely restraint like in our lives. Like Aaron and Julia probably would have only had like a few, if not for their grandma.
Yes.
I don't remember if when you adopted a new pet, if you got more currency. I know for a fact you got a new room on your house, and you couldn't just get a room on your house. You had to have another Webkinz, which is like a huge drive, I feel like. I think, honestly, that was my main drive over anything, was just wanting to have a bigger house.
I also know that when you got a pet, like a new pet, you would also get like a rare item.
Yeah.
Because I remember Julia...
Yeah, the bed.
Yes, they gave me this like insanely grand like Cinderella stagecoach bed.
Julia was
like
stacked.
It was nothing.
Julia had everything.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I think Julia was a big contributor to the dumb names thing.
I'm sure. I am absolutely sure. So as we near the end of our discussion here, we have to get into our comparison points. So our first piece of criteria, level of fun. Number 2, level of safety. Number 3, level of capitalism. Number 4, level of immersion. And number 5, level of cultural impact. Starting off with level of fun, perhaps through the lens of game quality, especially the arcade games.
Well, I never really had a lick of fun on Neopets.
That is so crazy.
I'm a little too biased in measuring this, but I'm just gonna have a moment for some of the games that I loved on Webkinz. That would be, it was called like Boingos or something.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, or like the slingshot one. I really liked the slingshot one.
Yeah.
Where you're throwing the little yellow guy, seeing how far you can get him. I like that one.
Yeah.
Of course, all of the standbys. Wheel of Wow. The Wheel of Wow.
I haven't heard
What
you
is
say
it
that in
called?
probably like 15 years.
Yeah.
The Gem Hunt?
Well, that was the Curio Shop.
Right.
That's not, I mean, it is a mini game, but it wasn't was it in the arcade? No, it was its own destination. That was fun. If you actually, I think I did complete all the gems. I'm pretty sure I got them all.
Wow.
What's the one that everyone loved? The cash cow one. Everyone loved that.
Yeah.
I didn't really care about that one as much. Oh, the wishing well one. That one is sort of like a shout out to gambling a little bit. Like it's a little gambling-esque.
Yeah.
Because it looks like
yeah.
slots. Like it kind of looks like slots.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Shout out to gambling. Seriously. Might as well.
I think I just had, looking at the W shop, buying new crap. I mean, talking about level of capitalism, there is like the literal level of capitalism, like how much are you being advertised to as a child? Mm-hmm. But also there's how much it's teaching you capitalism.
This is going to be a situation where we can't really see eye to eye because
you had your fun on Neopets.
I mean, blatantly though, the games on Neopets were better.
They were kind of intended for a more broad audience. Like they were more real games.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
they had stakes.
Yes.
And I'm just not a girl who loves real stakes in anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But that's why I did enjoy watching, because it's like, you're going to be the one who loses, not me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I liked watching you guys play the cave one and the swimming downward. That really stressed me out.
I know. That game was actually kind of a lot. Like,
because you run out of
Hannah
air.
in the Pirate Caves. Yes, it was like a platforming game, but like with a lot of having to swim underwater, and I always got stuck on the same level.
Yep.
But that was kind of regarded as like one of the hardest games.
Yeah.
But the name Hannah was in it, so what was I gonna do?
Oh, you know what one I did like to play? What's it called? Hazy Bounce or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that again?
It was the Neopets with the tails.
I know
and they're
that.
Kind of just,
I know that.
It was
part.
some kind of like seesaw type thing where you're collecting things
Yes.
as they bounce, something like that.
I loved Fairy Cloud Racers, which, okay, we didn't even talk about the fact that in the extended universe of Neopets, there are all these fairies.
Yeah, and they were
like
fierce.
They were so fierce. And I actually might need to get Mom to send me. I have this page in one of my notebooks from middle school that's just like covered in like Neopian style fairies.
Mm-hmm.
And I had drawn them and cut them out and put them on my bedroom walls when I was like in 5th grade, 6th grade. And now they're in this notebook and they're so fierce, and it would be such good Instagram
It would be a good post.
material. So I'll have to find it. Yeah, the fairies were so good. There was like nature fairy, water fairy, spooky fairy.
Yeah, I liked that. I remember
Queen
that.
fairy. Yeah, they were great.
This is hard because I just didn't really have fun personally on Neopets, but there are lots of, like, I get it. I understand why it's fun. So I guess I have to say Webkinz. But
Now, level of safety. Could it be argued that Webkinz is too safe? Probably
not for a minor. Not for minors.
Yeah, probably not. Or like, I don't think that you're going to learn anything about internet literacy through using Webkinz in any way.
If you're really little, you will. Like really little. Like this is how you play a game on a computer. Like
But that's not like internet. That's not like internet literacy though. That's like
I mean, you learn
pressing a button.
if you this is literally day 1, you learned how to log into something. Like you learn, like there is
True.
If you're that little, yeah, you do learn.
Learning how to log into something is huge. Literally, if someone tries to teach you how to log into something, turn and run.
Away.
Run away. You don't want to know how to do it.
I really
You
wouldn't
don't.
it be so interesting to know? Like, I guess that Neopets probably was the first thing that you logged into on the internet.
Yeah, probably. I guess with level of safety, it's like
Webkinz has to win.
yeah,
for level of
unless we
safety.
really twisted it.
If we're going to talk about the level of possibility of learning HTML, then that's something else.
Right.
I think
That is true.
the strength of Neopets is kind of like breadth of choice. Like there's just a lot of different ways that it could potentially enrich your game experience. And these are things that you're going to have to kind of figure out for yourself. Like no one's going to spoon feed you every single thing that you can do with Neopets.
No, not
whereas
at all.
Webkinz, it's like this is the entirety of the game is presented to you in one. Like there are no like shoot off things you can do.
Yes.
Offshoot things.
You can only go so deep
Yeah.
on Webkinz.
Yeah. Like
which is not deep. That is a huge cultural loss for us
I
that
know.
you can't like customize like an Instagram landing page or
I know.
like anything like
and
that.
we missed MySpace, but I don't know if you ever had one. I don't think you did. But
No, I would have gotten my ass kicked if I did.
my version of that was changing my YouTube background and layout, my YouTube channel. I used to make custom backgrounds and headers and profile pictures and stuff for YouTube channels that had like 20 subscribers. And I would literally just do it all the time because it was so fun. And so if I had been older, I am sure my MySpace I would have paid attention to that.
Okay, level of capitalism. I think that it's an interesting question because one of them is literally like
A
paid
market?
entry.
Oh.
One of them is paid entry and one of them is like you're starting a business. You're in the stock market.
Yeah.
You can get robbed. You can get scammed. All this.
Webkinz is like the utopia of capitalism. Like it's like you're gonna have a huge house, you're gonna be able to get all this fancy stuff, you're gonna be able to, it feels like a dream of capitalism in some way, like because
it's the American dream.
I mean it was really fun to buy expensive things and not feel the weight of that.
Yeah.
And then Neopets is more of like a real world reflection of like what can happen to you
like
with your money.
like it was actually like a dog eat dog world.
Yeah.
On Neopets for sure. Like the immersive advertising and stuff like that is also part of it.
Oh, and for the longest time too, like Webkinz was great because there were no in-game ads. They were making hella money. They didn't even need to do that. Yeah. And then once things started to dwindle, I remember when the first ads started coming in.
Really?
Yeah, and they had like sometimes they would have like special collaboration type ads. And then it just became kind of like more and more of that. But for a long time it was like ad free, which I thought was very pure. And again, it wasn't free to partake, but it's free to be on Neopets.
I think the capitalistic tendencies of Neopets are stronger. However, I hesitate to frame that as a bad thing because you were learning things.
It's kind of like education that you could receive in some roundabout way about real world capitalism on Neopets is a lot more real. Like it's grounded.
Yeah.
And you're not going to learn anything about the real world economy on Webkinz. Yeah. But it does kind of breed like a more attitude. I kind of feel like Webkinz is more capitalistic and Neopets is more about
capitalism.
the economy. Like, wasn't there like supply and demand on Neopets? Like,
Yeah.
like it,
Yeah.
it was a fake supply and demand. Like they are teaching you real concepts about the economy, but Webkinz itself is more capitalistic. That doesn't mean it's better. I'm kind of saying it's worse.
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah. I don't know though. I feel like it's still debatable because all the marketing and stuff on Neopets, I kind of feel like it's a tie because it's so
it's like, how do you
nuanced.
judge it? And by what standards
Yeah.
are you judging the level of capitalism?
Honestly, okay, I think if we think about it from like a corporate perspective, I think that Neopets is more of a dirty dog because of all of the like covert stuff.
If we're talking about the experience of playing the game, yeah, I agree. Neopets. Actually, no, I don't. Well, I don't know. But it costs way more money to partake in Webkinz than it does Neopets. Yeah,
By a lot.
by a lot.
By a
But
lot.
Are those funds going directly towards building a site where your child is not in danger? Yes.
So as for level of immersion,
It has to be Webkinz,
Audrey,
right?
I
I mean,
feel
you're
like
immersed in a way on Neopets, but it is not a world in the same way.
with Neopets, you don't really get like the rush of logging on that you would with Webkinz, which says something. But the world is so much bigger in Neopets and you have so much more to do. To me, that counts as immersion.
But it's kind of unfair
think-
to compare even because there is no... Now, if we were talking about Club Penguin and Webkinz, that would be
Yeah.
way easier to compare.
Yeah, I think that being on Neopets felt like being immersed in the internet
Yeah.
versus in Neopia. Therefore,
There was a map,
we
though.
can give it. But you weren't really like...
Yeah. The map didn't
Traversing.
feel like when you clicked on the place on the map, you were going to that place. It didn't feel like that.
It did to me.
At the end of this, I'm not even going to say Webkinz is a better game because I just didn't play Neopets. So I can't really say.
Let's get to our last element, which is level of cultural impact. I think it has to go to Neopets because children were learning code. People are still using the skills that they honed on Neopets for their professional careers. I think as a craze, Webkinz is stronger. Overall cultural impact, I do feel like Neopets did more.
My memories say Webkinz because those are my memories, but that doesn't mean that it's true. Like, what
Yeah.
did Webkinz lead to culturally? There was some, like, knockoff versions. Well, there is no... don't feel that there is an answer here because they're a bit apples and orenges. If we were doing Club Penguin and Webkinz, we could actually come out with an answer.
Neopets' mother
Yeah.
and yeah,
It's like, that's not
Webkinz'
fair.
daughter.
It's not fair to
Yeah, it's
pit
just
them
different.
against each other.
Pit two beautiful women of the same family against each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe what we're saying is that they each have their strengths and weaknesses, but at the end of the day, they're a beautiful, happy family. Well, and it's also like Webkinz was intended for a younger audience.
Yeah.
So I experienced them at roughly the same time, but it didn't. One was way better because Neopets felt like an older kid thing.
Yeah. And I was just on the level of Webkinz because I didn't like to actually have stakes. So you can like hardly lose a game on Webkinz.
I guess that's true. You can definitely lose on Neopets. Okay, so I wanted to just wrap it up with this one quote from the creative director of Webkinz. He said this: "Having worked on Webkinz for 17 years now, it is very rewarding to see the success of Roblox and Animal Crossing and the normalcy of games like Fortnite being as much as for concerts and hanging out as it is for duking it out. I've had to push back against AAA game designers and producers telling me that I wasn't making a proper game and that I wasn't a real game designer. I've always said that virtual worlds exist in a space between true games and social communities like Discord. They provide a shared experience between players that, while guided by their creators, is largely created in the minds of the players themselves." So I feel like that's applicable to both of the games that we talked about today, especially because he is right with like Roblox and Minecraft and Animal Crossing. Like there are these games that become generation defining, and I think for us, Webkinz and Neopets were two of them, and for kids now, Roblox, Animal Crossing, Minecraft, Fortnite.
Yeah.
Thank you to the early 2000s internet for both of these. Thank you, our listeners, for joining us.
And of course, for more from us, we're on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Sleepover Cinema, and post a full video version of each episode on YouTube every Thursday. You can follow me, Audrey, at Audrey A. Leach on everything.
And you can follow me, Hannah, at Real Judy Garland on Instagram. And please join our Discord server if you have not yet. The link is in the episode description.
You can check out our merch at tupingproductions.com/shop. We have t-shirts, sweatshirts, stickers, and more.
And if you had your heart broken by being scammed on Neopets, or if you were deathly afraid of the Webkinz killer, share this episode with a friend, a sibling, a parent, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts.
5
letting
stars.
us know how much you love us.
Sleepover Cinema is a production of Evergreen Podcasts, produced, edited, and engineered by us, Hannah and Audrey Leach. Sleepover Cinema is mixed by Sean Rule-Hoffman with theme music by Josh Perlman Hall. Executive producer is Michael D'Aloia. Welcome to the Curio Shop.
Welcome to the Curio
Looks
Shop.
like you found yourself a gem.